She's the lady behind Tidding.
This was a page that my husband started. He had just given up on it after married. This was our baby in a way. There's also putting your insecurities away and being on the camera. That takes a while. If people just share their own journey, it'll allow other people to open up about it. Sometimes they're a long-term supporter and all of a sudden they're hating. That means they've always been a hater.
Does anybody say you're riding on your husband's success?
People do think that. I feel kind of offended by that, honestly. He often says that I'm probably the first person who brought a company to a level where I could rehire the founder. I do still pride myself in knowing that I could take up something that's given up and make it into a thriving business for both of us.
You've had your own journey of mental health and identity crisis.
I feel therapy is a space where there is no judgment. Your therapist allows you to kind of put that in order. It's just a reflection of what we think of ourselves.
I'll be honest, it's very difficult for me to trust an unknown person.
You've got to go through so many therapists to find the right fit. That's okay, but you shouldn't give up. It's definitely worth it.
Welcome to Women of Wonder by Reema Mahajan, or Wow Women as we lovingly call it. This is our initiative to bring to you journeys of empowered and ambitious women so that we can all take inspiration from them. My guest today is a woman of wonder, but from the world of strategy and innovation. She's the lady behind the brand Tidding, as we all say it, and has grown the brand beautifully in the last 1.5 years. From 16,000 followers to 165,000 followers and a lot more on social media today, we're going to hear her story of success and take an inspiration from it. Welcome to the show, Mahak. Lovely to have you.
Thank you.
Well, we've been waiting for this conversation because we want to learn all about what does it take to make a brand a success. But we want to start from the very beginning. Tell us where you're from. How did you land in Dubai? How long back have you been here?
So I'm from Mumbai and I was there till I was 18 and I briefly moved to London for around 8 years. Then I moved back to Bombay and then I came to Dubai just to explore like a different job opportunity. And that was in 2020. So that was the worst time to move. But I was lucky because Dubai handled it so well. So during that time, I kind of, I always worked in marketing. So I dabbled in social media just to learn about the new evolving digital space. And that's how I ended up here.
Brilliant. So you landed in Dubai about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
When did Tidding happen to you? And how did that start?
So this was a page that my husband started, actually. He started it in 2016. And he was doing mostly YouTube, long-form YouTube videos, which were going on YouTube and Facebook at the time. And there was an Instagram page, but it was not really flourishing at all because it was not really the era of Instagram at that time. And he was just doing videos as and when he could. It was more of his side passion project. Right. During which he had like full-time jobs as well. So last year, he had just kind of given up on it because it's been since 2016, so many years since then. And it was not really kind of making any money or, it was not really helping him with his funds at all. So he just thought, what's the point? Because YouTube videos handle a lot of production, so which he himself put in for years. And as I have that background in marketing, and I was like, let's try this, We've just gotten married. Like, let's take on 2 projects at a time.
What was the initial conversation and the initial days like? How did the new strategy, as I would say, and the ideation come into being?
Because I was like an avid audience member of all social media platforms, I realized that it definitely has lots of potential and deserves a lot more following and a lot more reach because of the effort that was going behind it. But that doesn't happen with 2 or 3 videos a month, even though they are the highest production ever. So you've got to be consistent by putting out smaller forms of content, which were trending at that time as well, and it still are. So I decided, why not I do that while we reignite the past content and put that on our platform again. So I was just like kind of playing around with all the things that I had learned. And then once it reached, like because of all just small trends, and it just reached 10K more followers in a few months. So then we realized there is potential. Right. And that's how it began. And then we realized that we should put in more work into this. And since a year and a half, we've been doing that. And I do feel like it's a short time, but it feels like, right after married, this was our baby in a way.
Yes, absolutely. You got married and had the baby in the first month. There you go. That was pretty quick. So what changed in Tidding? How have you changed the strategy of your brand from where it was to what you are? What's your vision like?
So to keep the essence of what Tidding was to begin with in 2016, it was a page that wanted to make other people smile with content that is relatable. but also to integrate brands into it. How do we do that? We didn't want to be an advertising platform where we just talk about the product. I understand sometimes brands do want that, but why would me as an audience member watch something like this? Maybe once in a while where I am looking for maybe a restaurant to eat in, or like what type of car I should buy. Maybe then. But most audiences are not on Instagram for that. That's not their search platform. So why would somebody watch our content with the brand integration? So if we were to make it humorous and have the integration right there somewhere, then somebody would watch it and sometimes even forward it to their friends just for the comedy aspect. But even the brand's happy with that because, well, their video is being forwarded, put it on stories. So that's how we do it.
So most of your videos tend to be humorous and tend to bring smile on our faces. But when a brand approaches you, and sometimes it can be a really serious, really boring brand, right? What does the idea generation process look like? How do you think of what content am I going to create for this?
So sometimes it takes 2-3 days just to think of something because we've got to be on trend. If you do something trending and are able to add the client in it, then it works. But sometimes we have to sit with the client. We have had hours of meetings just to explain to them why you've come to us. You've come to us because of our unique content. You want to integrate into the humor, but you have all these regulations. So how do we still add humor in it? Don't cross any lines because that's like a major thing here, but also be funny because it could still be funny. It doesn't have to be vanilla content. And eventually they do get it because they are the ones who approached us. So they do understand why it needs to be that way. Because if we don't do it the way we want to do it, with their integration, of course, we can't guarantee the numbers. That's why.
Brilliant. And we've seen Rohit in a lot of these reels, right? I've seen you in a few of them, but is that going to change very soon?
I'm trying to make a change. I think that's like a content creation job is having so many things and like there's strategy, there's innovation, but there's also putting your insecurities away and being on the camera. That takes a while. So I am trying that. Like it took him a while too. So I hope.
And I've heard he's an introvert, which I don't believe, but my team tells me he is. Is that true?
He is. And that really causes quite a problem because we have to network. That's literally a part of the job. And, in front of the camera, it's different because you're talking to yourself in a way, right? So that's when you can't see the person being an introvert because they are being themselves. But when you meet people or when people recognize you on the streets, what do you do? Like how, like they think they know you, but they don't. But because they follow the stories, they see a glimpse in your life. So they're just like, calling you out like, hey mate, what's up? I don't know you, but he's been able to deal with that because I think it's because of being in the radio industry for 12 years nearly. It helps you think on your feet. But he is an introvert and we're trying to change that.
You're doing a great job. And I'm sure with 160,000 and more fans, he probably meets somebody or the other on the streets.
Yeah, it does happen very often. Yeah. Because we also have a very large Facebook following and that like it gets shared with all generations now because Facebook is a different generation.
Do people ever ask you that it's your husband is the face of the brand, right? Does anybody say you're riding on your husband's success?
People do think that. Like I've got this a lot that, behind a successful man is a woman. And I think I feel kind of offended by that, honestly, because I'm not behind that because it was something he had given up on. I restarted it in a way. And even he often says that, I'm probably the first person who bought a company to a level where I could rehire the founder. That's what he always says. Like, oh my God.
Great way to put
That's
it.
really sweet of him. Yeah. But I feel like, with us being women, we have to bring in that change, even for other women, because they do see their own insecurities in us. And I've mostly heard this from them as well. So, I do still pride myself in knowing that I could take up something that's given up and make it into a thriving business for both of us.
Well, we are incredibly proud of you that you've rebuilt a brand which was about to die and rehired the founder again in the job, which I hear Rohit is moving on and is building this brand full time now.
Yes,
is that true?
That's true. So he gave up his career of 12 years in a way. And he was also really surprised to take on that leap of faith. But he knows that he has to, you've got to sometimes kill that comfort spot of yours and take on that leap. So it was quite an exciting moment, but we had to do a lot of Excel sheets to find out if it's a possibility. Right. And I was like, wow, it is definitely a possibility. And it also gives us a lot of time together to build the brand even further, to see what more we can do rather than just create what we're creating now, which is also great, but we have to evolve and, all media platforms are continuously evolving. So we've got to evolve with it.
Well, we wish you all the very luck for what's coming. But just as a question, how do husband and wife partner in a business?
I get that a lot.
So, do you have ups and downs? Do you have like, no, my idea is better and your idea is not? How does that work?
I think luckily, because it is kind of a collaborative space, and he brings in his strengths and I bring in mine. So his strengths are like humor, creativity, and he's a very good copywriter. And mine would be strategy and how to make this perfect for the trend that's going on right now, how to innovate it, when to post, etc. Like all of these, it's like the devil's in the details, and I do that. Like I'm the devil there mostly. So because of that, we don't have a lot of like head to head about the ideas. But because of the fact that we have two different, like we are opposites in that sense, we're able to do that without arguments, thankfully. But it does impact our own personal lives because we are married. And so we have to create that border, like this is work time.
I'm sure you must be discussing real ideas during dinner. Does that happen often?
It does happen. It does. Because in the end, I'm still a consumer too. Yeah. So I'm going to be like scrolling through something. And so I've created this different page, like a different group on Instagram. This is for work. So I'll just send it to work and we'll discuss it tomorrow after 8 a.m.
That's brilliant.
We have no other option.
Well, that's a great tip for people who work together, for couples who work together, indeed, isn't it? So you've already done a lot of branded projects, right? Brand collaborations. Which one has been your favorite one so far?
I think the most changing one, the one that really impacted us a lot, was when we collaborated with Dubai Stadium for the Asia Cup that happened last year. Because again, that's where the introvert kind of comes to play, because we had to create human stories every day. And we didn't know what we were going to do. It was boiling hot at that point. Everyone's cheering for their team. Nobody wants to talk, obviously. And Rohit, being an introvert, did not want to go into the crowd. And that's where we actually discovered one of his skills, is that he's actually very good at interviewing people. But he didn't know that. And like back when I was in London, I have done a lot of work with like random strangers talking in a group. I've done all of that. So I would just go into the crowd and he'd be like, what are you doing? Like, how are you just going in? I'm like, so what? What's going to happen? What's the worst? So people would talk to us because we're not coming in with a big camera. So we kind of captured. So then I said, okay, just start talking and I'm just going to record. Let's just see what happens. And he started interviewing people like that, where a lot of people were happy to talk because they're so excited. Everyone's screaming around them. Their friends come together. So we interviewed somebody who was whose son was playing against India. So somebody from Hong Kong who had Indian background as well. Right. And his son kind of beat one of like the biggest Indian players. I'm not a big cricket person, so I don't know who. Yeah. But we captured that very moment. And after that, Sony Max came to us. Like, where is that father? Yes, yes, because like we could capture that, because if they entered with the camera, even if he's jumping, he will stop. Yeah. Because that just happens. People are hesitant. So that really impacted us a lot. It was a 1.5 month project. And we learned a lot from that. So I think that was quite a good one. But after that, we've worked in terms of like incorporating trending reels and trending new movies into our reels as well. So recently we tried to do something with Mission Impossible, Barbie, and like a lot of Indian movies, whatever happens, whatever's going on, we try to see what can we do with like the most popular dialogue, the most popular scene.
So talking about trends, I saw this latest reel that you did on Jawan.
Yeah.
I think it had more than 16 million views.
Yes, it does. So we wanted to, again, create something trending as always. So we partnered up with one of our fellow creators and we went into this empty cinema at that time because it was noon. We chose the perfect time. Why not dress up exactly like Shah Rukh Khan does in the film? But the one that's caught everyone's eye, that's with him and the bandages and the blood and all of that. So I was like, okay, let me be the makeup artist today. So I have so many roles. So you went there, all the staff were staring at us, what's happening. Yeah. But it was really fun because we want to, again, entertain our audience. Mm-hmm. And it was reshared by so many people, even I think Shah Rukh Khan's left-hand lady, she also liked it. I think I'm just really happy with how something that's not even a brand integration goes viral, because we like to still do stuff that is not always branded.
And I think authenticity of the brand while sticking to the core of keeping it humorous, keeping it fun, putting that smile on your followers is a beautiful thing to do. So that's brilliant. So moving on, something which we read about you is you meditate a lot.
I mean, yeah. I guess.
So let's talk about, how meditation has helped you in your mental health journey, right? So I think you've spoken about it a little bit before, but talk to us about why do you meditate? Why do you do that?
I feel like I started doing this in my early 20s because I feel like that's the toughest time where you have to decide what you're trying to do, understanding that you're not adult, but you're still a kid. You're in that limbo at that time. So I was brought into this yoga center by my mom that like, just try this. And I hated it in the beginning, obviously, because no kid wants to just sit there for an hour also. But eventually I realized by forcibly doing it in the beginning that like there is a point where I can not think about something or not overthink. And that allows me to be myself even more. Because when you're just overthinking, it's just kind of putting self-doubts into your head, So I started doing that a lot. And I realized that's what's going to help me in the future. Like that's what helps us as a team as well now. Because if we don't communicate, we have a lot of overlapping roles. It is going to cause problems. Yeah. So I feel just focusing on your mental health and focusing on yourself helps with all aspects of your life. So that's why I do it, because I feel it's honestly the most important, more than any other kind of health. And I think it also goes often unseen, unfortunately. Nobody thinks about it. Like, okay, you're sad, but because you can't physically see someone's hurt unless, when you're physically hurt, you can see that. So that's why I feel I talk a lot about it, because I feel it's important to communicate that in all aspects.
No, that's brilliant, because I think mental health is one of the most important topics of today. Everybody has their own battles, personal or professional. Everybody is going through some sort of stress, right? But people don't often ask for help. People don't often ask for therapy. People don't often discuss it with friends. So I think people like you who are ambassadors of talking of it helps other people to just, okay, maybe I'm going through this. Maybe I need to go to see a therapist. Maybe I need to just talk it out with a friend.
Yeah, like many friends have just spoken to me about it because I shared this. So I feel like if people just share their own journey, if they're comfortable with it, it'll allow other people to open up about it as well.
Well, that's a brilliant example of what you are setting, because even if one woman sees this show and goes and talks to a friend, I think we've done a good show. Why should I go talk to a therapist?
I feel there are loads of things that people keep in their minds and they have nobody to talk to. And that's what they think. They think everyone's out of reach, especially family members, friends, because we're afraid of judgment. And I feel therapy is a space where there is no judgment. And that's their job, to do that for you, to sit and think and listen to your thoughts. That's when you realize the things that you're thinking about yourself and all the judgment that surrounds you is actually coming from within. Your therapist allows you to kind of put that in order and realize that, maybe what you're thinking about people is your own judgment. Because sometimes it's just a reflection of what we think of ourselves. Like we think, oh, that person must think this of me, because in reality, I think this of me. But nobody thinks that deep. Nobody's going there yet. But a therapist helps you get there.
How do you find the right therapist? Because, I'll be honest, it's very difficult for me to trust an unknown person and share a segment of my life, which is mostly very personal, right? And probably nobody knows about it. And I haven't even confided in my nearest and dearest ones. How do you trust that new person in your life? And, you go to him and you talk to him.
I feel it's very much like going to a doctor. If you're going to go to a doctor about your physical health, you're going to be honest about everything. And that's why he or she is going to help you the best way. So that's where even when you go to a therapist, they are also a professional. But because we are talking so much to them and we see our mental and physical health very separately, I feel it becomes in a way like speed dating or something, because you've got to go through so many therapists to find the right fit. And that's okay, but you shouldn't give up, because sometimes you might not click with a certain therapist. Because my first therapist also had the background of working in London for a bit. And I was in Bombay then, and I had just come back after 7 years. I'm like, this is perfect, because I don't have to give her the context when I talk about places. When I talk about things that, oh, I did this, I took the tube, or I went to the NHS, stuff like that. She got it, because I didn't have to waste my 1 hour in explaining. So I feel you have to go through a few, but it's definitely worth it.
It's definitely worth it. Well, let's take Mahak's advice and focus on our mental health journeys, on our personal journeys to be mentally fit, as well as much as we lay stress on being physically fit. Moving on to a more fun round now, from serious to fun. This is called our Direct Dil Se round. It is a rapid fire round. Short answers, very crisp. Let's get to know the other side of Mahak that we don't know and that you've not discussed. But it's seriously fun. And to keep it very interesting, we have a lovely, brilliant hamper, which you can win.
I wish.
The hamper is very special because it comes from the women entrepreneurs in our community. My first question is, your first thought in the morning: coffee, meditation, or checking your Insta notifications?
Hate to say it, checking my Insta notifications.
First thing, let me check how many views I got last night.
Kind of, yeah.
Your favorite post so far, and what made you laugh at that?
Like our favorite post, like the one that I think I love doing the Barbie reel that we recently did, because it's something even the creative person in our team didn't want to do. And I pushed for it. So I I became the creative person at that point. And I'm so glad because I'm able to learn that as well. So I was really proud of that I was able to push for that.
So everybody, if you haven't seen the Barbie reel, you need to go check it out now on their Insta. Okay, what drives your brand's content more? Is it strategy or being very spontaneous?
Being spontaneous.
One word to describe your husband in the content creation process. we are not talking much about you, Rohit, so don't worry.
I think I would say like random, eclectic, like someone who's just all over the place with his thoughts. So he can then he puts it together and a great piece of content comes out.
Oh, there you go. Well done, Rohit.
I have to say good things.
Yeah. Your biggest business inspiration, who do you look up to in the world of strategy and business?
The Indian company TVF.
TVF, all right. Why do you say that?
Well, they also started off with long form content and they became a production house eventually because that's the kind of path that it could go to at that time. We don't know what our path would be now, but I love their creativity, their writing and their production style, everything from the actors. It was also relatable and also making parodies, which we love doing as well. So that they are someone we look up to.
Your go-to comfort food?
Butter chicken.
Are you Punjabi?
I am Punjabi.
Where are you from?
Jalandhar.
Jalandhar. My in-laws are from Jalandhar.
Are you Punjabi as well?
Yeah, I belong to Chandigarh. But yeah, I'm the Punjabi kudi at heart.
Me too.
Yeah. The most challenging part of managing your brand strategy?
I think keeping it personalized. Keeping it relatable for the audience, that's the most challenging because it becomes very easy just to straight away talk about a brand when they come to us. But we want to keep true to our roots so that, yeah.
One piece of advice you'd like to give your younger self?
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. You're doing great. And everyone's here to support you, but you don't know that yet.
A hobby or a skill you've picked up during the last few years?
Actually, editing was a hobby and now it's become a job. But my other hobby is also I love to doodle on my iPad. I used to like art when I was younger. So that is something I would love to try and create animated projects for us in the future. But that's a very far-fetched thing.
One day, you never say no. Yeah, it might be on the way. All right. One thing you'd like to change about the social media world?
I think the hate. I would love to change that because people are very quick to become keyboard warriors. They love to hate on everything. Yeah. If you just do a review of a film and they'll think you hate the actor, you're very right-wing, left-wing, it just goes anywhere. It's just so unexpected. So I would I know it's coming from a space that they are probably in a negative space themselves. It's nothing about you. But you don't think that at that point because it's targeted at you, right? So I would like to change that if hopefully we could filter out more of that.
When you read these negative comments, right, some of them are real bullying and saying, wrong stuff at you. What do you think? What's your process to absorb that and move on?
Funnily enough, I actually am not too affected by it, thankfully. It doesn't bother me a lot. I just delete the comment and I block that person because even if it may be, sometimes they're a long-term supporter and all of a sudden they're hating, that means they've always been a hater. So there's no point having them view our content to begin with, right? Because that's just putting out negative energy into our content. So I just do that. I just feel there's no point of letting others' words bother you. That's the biggest thing that impacts your mental health because it's all about thinking, oh my God, what is that person thinking of me, right?
It's been lovely talking to you. And here's a hamper.
Wow, I win.
Of course you win and you rocked it completely. But here's a hamper. It's a very special one.
Thank you very much.
We call it the Empowered and Ambitious Hamper. And it's special because it comes from women from the community, right? From everything that you see in this trace to the packaging. It's done by a women entrepreneur who's trying to be financially independent.
Oh, lovely.
So there we go.
Thank you so much for calling me.
Well, thank you. You did ace our direct dil se round.
I tried.
You did. Right. Moving on to the future. What's coming up next for your brand?
We would like to experiment in making mini series if it's possible. What we would have loved to do for YouTube years ago, hopefully for Instagram in the future. So we want to do that. We want to kind of expand into the agency space. There are a few things in the pipeline.
Absolutely. And we wish you all the very best. Meg, a lot of our viewers are women, right? And a lot of the women want to do well in the social media space like you've already done. So you are kind of an inspiration for them.
I never thought that. Yeah.
Well, you are where they want to be one day, right?
Yeah.
Building and creating content for a leading brand in the market. What's your word of advice for that lady who wants to make it big in the social media space? Where does she start?
I think don't start in thinking that you have to be perfect. Don't wait for that moment where this photo will be perfect or I'll look perfect in this reel. Because I think that's what kind of halts it a lot. And people think 20 times about what caption I should post. Just post it. Because everyone's doing that. Nobody is thinking too much about your content except you in the beginning. So when you start doing that, it'll help you grow further. And then you'll realize that, hey, it's not that tough. Because I did that. I wanted to start my Instagram page in, I think, 2018 or something. I had traveled several countries by then. I have all these photos that I never put up because I thought so much about it. And I really wanted to be like a travel creator at that point. But I just couldn't, because I also needed that creative push, which I'm getting now. And it is difficult because we are our own worst enemies. So just go ahead and be yourself, because actually everybody wants to see a personality and who they relate to. So if you're being yourself, there are people, and you will find your tribe on Instagram, TikTok, or any social media platform you choose, even Snapchat. Just try it. Just do it.
Well, that's brilliant piece of advice from our guest of the show today. Don't wait for perfection. Mental health is very important. Go speak to a therapist. It will always help your journey. It's been brilliant talking to you, Mahak. Thank you
Lovely
for
talking
coming
to you
on the
too.
show.
Thank you.
If you liked our podcast, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we'll be back with another Women of Wonder very, very soon. Namaste.